Hello and welcome to Console Shock episode 47, Retro Modern Gaming Chat with me, Trev, and Stu.
Hey guys, how's everyone?
All of us are good, thank you very much. All of us are good. How about you?
Yeah, no, really good, really good. I'm getting ready for Christmas.
You got your presents already and your trees up and all the usual kind of bollocks?
Yeah, well, in the last 15 years we've never actually bought a tree. So this year we did buy a tree. It's an absolutely tiny tree, and we've got about 3 baubles on it and no light, so it looks really pathetic.
I'm not too bothered about putting no decorations up. My girlfriend does. You know what? I could probably be happy not to have anything. It sounds really sad for people to be like, that's terrible. But
all guys are the same, really. It's a little bit. It's a bit lazy, aren't you? And guys in general, you got to put the tree up. Yeah. And then they get, those little pits of those pines everywhere or needles all over the shop, and then you've got to decorate it. It's not fun decorating. It's good for kids, but
too much admin. I'm tired of talking about it, to be honest. It's that tedious. They don't do anything for me as well. They just don't do anything for me. It's not even about it being lazy. It's just a tree that just sits and is only there for a month. So it's like not even that, a couple of weeks or something. So yeah. Any exciting Christmas presents from past years?
Any hiding Christmas presents from past years?
Any exciting Christmas presents? Well, maybe you did hide some of them.
I don't know what Justine, my partner's got me, but I bought her some slippers, yoga mat.
What about when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, that's more interesting. Right? That's more podcast related.
What about Christmas presents we got in our 30s? There's an episode
last year, my mum got me socks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, voucher. Yeah,
I got a voucher. When I was a kid, I think the best one, I think it was getting my Amiga 600.
Oh, that was a Christmas present, was it?
Yeah, my dad got me that, and he bought it. He was working in Germany at the time, so I had a German model.
They're very big though, weren't they? The Amiga was very, very big in Germany, so.
Yeah, exactly, and I think it worked out slightly cheaper to buy it from there. So he bought that on the way back, and that was really good. And
which pack was it?
I think it was just it wasn't a pack; it was just an Amiga 600.
You just got the white sort of the actual inner box because it was just a sleeve.
Just in a normal white box. So I remember. I was allowed to pound it a little bit early, and I got Street Fighter 2, which was I love playing that, but in reality, it was probably an awful port. But
it's not bad. It's playable. It's borderline playable. You have to really use a Mega Drive controller on it because a joystick doesn't really. Well, it's an Amiga joystick with one button doesn't really work well. But if you get a Mega Drive pad, at least you can have 2 buttons. Still a bit crap, but.
Well, I always use the Master System pad.
Or Master System pad, yeah, they work pretty well as well, yeah.
That's what worked well for me. So what was your favourite sort of Christmas present when you were a kid?
There's a few that are up there. There's like Christmas 97. I got a Nintendo 64. That was very exciting. I remember there was adverts in some of the magazines then around sort of Christmas not 97 or actually no, the year before Christmas 96. Nintendo were running ads saying things like "Don't buy a turkey for Christmas," referring to people like buying a Saturn or a PlayStation on Christmas 96, basically trying to stop people from buying something when they should wait for the N64. I'm not sure how well that worked out for them. I don't think it did work out very well for them. But yeah, I got an N64 that we talked about before. What happened when we first played one. I think I played one for the first time that summer. A friend of mine got one. I think it was Mario Kart 64. I played and Turok, and I thought they were amazing. And yeah, I got it with International Superstar Soccer 64, and it was brilliant. Actually, that game, I just absolutely destroyed it for about 3 or 4 months till I got my next game. So bloody expensive N64 games. You're looking at 60, 70 quid. I mean, today's money, that's probably more like, nearly 80 or 90 quid, I guess?
Maybe 100, yeah.
Yeah. So they were very, very expensive. And yeah, like you wouldn't be able to get another game until the birthday, or if you traded in the one you got and got something else. So I didn't really build up much of a library over the years. Only really now I've started collecting it. I've been able to buy more games. So there was that. And probably my favourite would be my Sega Game Gear. Because I really wanted one. This is 93, I think. Christmas 93. So it's been out a couple of years already at this point. But yeah, I had buy a couple of mates who had them, and I used to just love playing on them. It just, I think it was. I had a Game Boy at the time, but I think I always wanted a Game Gear because it had a colour screen, and just Sega were just cool. So I just wanted.
It always, to me, the Game Gear always looked better, but I kind of much preferred the Game Boy. The Game Gear looked better, but I prefer the Game Boy because it just. I love the Super Mario and Tetris and the games were just somehow. And then I always had the worry that, oh no, the batteries will run out, and I won't be able to actually play on it, and
yeah, I mean
things like that. That was always my big concern about the Game Gear. But then I knew that the Game Boy, the batteries last 18 hours, so that was probably at least a week, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it did. You're right. It looked good, didn't it? It had a really cool sort of the black sort of design, sort of, and it was like long ways, wasn't it, as well? Like sort of horizontally like orientated, so it was more like a sort of like a joypad was, and a little bit less cramped. And I think the screen was a tad bigger as well. It was actually lower resolution. Actually, it's a tiny bit lower resolution than a Game Boy. Funnily enough. But yeah, I mean, I got it on Christmas '93. It came with there was a pack that came with a 4-in-1 cart.
Oh yeah, and one had some sort of knockoff columns or something.
It had columns. Yeah, it was Sega that made this, so it was like actual columns, I guess. Quite a good tennis game. It was actually quite good, and it had like a rally game that was kind of like an outrun type thing, and like a penalty shootout football game. It was just penalties. There was no actual football match. You just played a penalty shootout. It was kind of addictive in itself as a short sort of burst of a game. But that was kind of all right. The 4 games are actually okay. And then you got I got separately Sonic Chaos, which is like the 3rd Sonic handheld game.
That's a cracking game, that one.
It's actually really good. Yeah, really good. Very easy and short, but it's still good. And it was the first Sonic game that you could play as Tails, and actually do the campaign as Tails.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which made it a lot easier because you could, even easier than it already was, because you could fly through bits. Because you could use his tails to fly. That was actually a really good game. Yeah, so that was probably my favourite. I got a Dreamcast in '99. So not long after it came out. That was super exciting to get that, because that was at that point that was the closest to launch that I ever got a console. Because when I was a kid, they were always way too expensive when they came out. Like I couldn't, like £300 for a PlayStation was way beyond what my parents would be able to spend. So I was always kind of a generation behind for a while, because those were the systems that were sort of around that £100 mark. But yeah, I managed to get a Dreamcast not long after it came out. I remember I got Soul Calibur with it, and Sega Rally 2. So 2 really good games. I think I bought the Sega Dreamcast magazine, so I had a little demo disc as well that occupied me. So yeah, that was kind of cool. Got it hooked up to the internet that day. The service had only been running a couple of months, the internet service. I think I started just after the console was came out over here. Maybe did start the day it came out. I don't really know, but yeah, that was awesome. So yeah, that's our Christmas highlights. But one console I didn't actually get on Christmas or anything like that. I think we were both sort of grown-ups, quote unquote grown-ups, when this came out. Today we're going to talk about the original Xbox.
Yes.
So we're now on sort of, well, I guess we're going to be going into like the 4th generation of Xbox. If you don't count the Xbox One X as its own sort of thing, which it kind of isn't it? It's a bit weird. But yeah, we've had obviously the 360, we've had the Xbox One, and we're going to have something new in the next 2 or 3 years. But yeah, we're going to go back to where it all started, with the original. So, I mean, what did you think when you heard that Microsoft were actually going to make their own system?
Well, I thought it was a good idea. It's always good when other people sort of come into the market, because you know they have all slightly different plans for things. And I remember it coming out, and it was it was really billed as, you know, this is a beast of power.
Yeah,
But I remember being a student at the time, and I put all my eggs into the GameCube.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So my main machine of that generation was a GameCube. You know, I love that. You know, all the big games I bought for that. And then you had the PS2.
Yes.
And I thought, well, I was a student at the time, so I could, you know, I think I maybe was getting into my third year at university, and I couldn't make myself go, I can't have a GameCube, a PlayStation 2, and an Xbox. That's just that's just silly. And at the time, I wasn't into the sort of first person shooters.
You weren't collecting particularly or anything at that point.
Yeah, so I thought, no, I'll stick with what I've got. But to be honest, what else also put me off was, I think when it came out, it was, you know, something like £399, and you know,
it was $299, yeah.
No, it was $399. Was it $399?
I think it was $299. But I think what made that stand out was the fact that I think that Sony, I've talked about it before, they're very good with dropping the price of their hardware when their competitor comes out. They're good with pricing generally. Apart from the PS3, they really screwed that up. But everything else they're normally quite good with. But yeah, and I think they dropped the price of the PS2 from I think that was either at $299 still, or that was already under 200. I think they dropped that from about 200 to 150. Like literally on the month that the Xbox launched in the UK. So you're looking at March 2002. So yeah, 300 quid suddenly sounded ridiculous for a console of that same generation. Yeah.
And I was going to say, I don't want one of those people go, God, the machine's £300. Oh, you know, I'm not going to buy that. That's ridiculous. You know, for what you got
to get an extra dongle to play a DVD on it as well.
That, well, you know, that wasn't I suppose that was a big deal.
Yeah.
But for me, it was always about that. I thought it was a good deal for $299 for everything it did. It was twice as powerful as a PlayStation 2. You had lots of exclusives on there. You know, it had a hard drive in there, so it made games load a lot quicker, and you know, you could play slightly different types of games on there. They could you know, be sort of, they could put stuff into sort of the hard drive space. You could play music from it. You could do, again, you could play DVDs. I think it was something to do with, they didn't have the license to play DVDs. So when you bought the little remote with the little adapter, that gave you the license.
Yeah, they didn't want to have to pay the DVD licensing people a fee for every console that was able to play DVDs.
Yeah.
So they thought, well, we'll just make the consumer pay for that by making a dongle that they've got to plug in, which just went into the controller port, and it was just an infrared receiver. Everything was in the Xbox that could play a DVD video. There wasn't anything that, it wasn't a bit of a plug-in card or something like you'd have to do with a 3DO to play a video CD. It was just a key, really, that unlocked a feature. Exactly. 20 quid. I mean, now you can see them all over. There's about 1 billion of them all over the place, isn't there? This was the days when, yeah, you would probably use your console as your main DVD player if you had one. I think I watched the DVDs on mine, so I think I bought that kit. You got a remote control with it though, so it didn't feel like you were being ripped off, really.
No, you got the remote control with it.
Yeah.
Sort of that wasn't sort of a bad deal.
Well, they tend to be 20 quid on their own, don't they? When you get one, you know, because often most consoles have a DVD or remote control thing, don't they? When you want to watch films, yeah.
It always sort of come up, but these days I don't really watch DVDs anymore. That sounds terrible, but I might buy the odd one. Yeah,
it's weird because a lot of people, you know, don't really put the sort of two and two together here, but I sort of consider the Xbox consoles to be the descendants of Sega consoles. Be like, you know, what? But basically, what it means is Sega, Microsoft, were actually helped with the development of the Dreamcast. There's actually, you'll see on every Dreamcast unit, there's a logo that says designed for or compatible with Microsoft Windows CE, which is like an an embedded operating system that was normally used in like, Palm OS devices, the sort of handheld pad type things before the iPad would run Windows CE, and the Dreamcast could as well. Apparently, it would make it easy to port PC games over to the Dreamcast, and there's a few games that used it.
That's it. Both the Dreamcast and the Xbox did really well with having just lots of PC-styled games that there were sort of adventure sort of RPGs on the PC, and they were just sort of just ported, and they seem to have a lot of games which I didn't quite, I wasn't quite aware of the sort of the PC gaming market to really know what they were, but the Xbox certainly had a lot of those, and things like Counter-Strike was on there, and like Morrowind, the original Morrowind, and that's a great example of a game that I don't think could have been done on the GameCube or the PlayStation 2, just because it was so large and
it was the first console Elder Scrolls game, funnily enough. It was weird because I think when the Dreamcast was sort of dying, they kind of made a point, a lot of the magazines, that this is kind of like a Dreamcast 2. So I kind of thought, well, that's probably the one I should get then. And I had no issues with it being. I know some people are really weird about Microsoft. They're like, oh, I hate everything Microsoft make. I'm not going to buy it. But I know plenty of people that have that attitude that'll have Xbox 360, so they obviously are happy when it's a console made by them and not like Windows or something.
I think in those days it was all about, Microsoft are terrible. To use your PC, you've got to spend £100 on a Windows license.
Yeah, exactly.
No one ever did.
Yeah.
Do you know Word that cost £400, but no one ever got the license?
Yeah, exactly. Got it through other means.
Exactly. You all shared the same key, and you just put that in. That was easy enough. But I think I can't keep on going on. Really, it was an extension of the Dreamcast, because you had so many games like Panzer Dragoon, or Orta, or Panzer Dragoon 3. That came out on there. Shenmue 2, and if you're in America, you never actually got Shenmue 2 on the Dreamcast. If you wanted to play the next one in the series, you had to get an Xbox.
That's
and right. So Jet Set Radio.
It's got the English voiceover as well. The Dreamcast, the Xbox version of Shenmue.
Okay.
Yeah, the what we got on the Dreamcast in Europe, we obviously got Shenmue 2 in Europe for the Dreamcast. That just has like subtitles, which some people might argue is actually better because the voiceover is still pretty naff. But yeah, you've got Shenmue 2, and also the best thing about it was it was on a DVD. It was just on one disc and not 4.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was funny because it got announced, and it just looked like it was going to be so much more powerful than the PS2. And I think I don't know if this is actually a scientific fact, but I think people say it's sort of twice as powerful. Sounded like something from Brass Eye there, didn't I? There's not real evidence for it, but it is scientific fact. And
I heard it was 2 million % more powerful per gigaflop. That's what I heard.
I think that's a bit.
My mate Darren told me that.
Yeah, on the schoolyard. Yeah.
That's what he told me. But a guy I used to work with in sort of the computer game shop. He would always say, every multiplat, I would always get the Xbox version. It was just so much better.
Yeah, because
it had more power. It quite often ran at a slightly higher resolution. There were a lot, more things to do. It was a generally sort of much better experience. But I was just thinking that I was going to ask you a question. If, let's say, the Xbox original sold as many games as the PlayStation 2, would the games have looked that much better? If it was the dominant system of that generation. What do you think?
What? So if it's sold as many as the PS2, or
what I'm saying is a lot of games came out, and I think all the developers sort of said, okay, well let's do the PlayStation 2 version of all these games. That's going to be the lead one, and then we'll port it to the Xbox, and if we've got any time, we maybe make a few improvements to it.
It is an interesting point because Yeah, basically, it was like the PS2 was the lead platform, so the game would be designed for that, and it got ported to the Xbox, and I guess they would get it running to the same level as the PS2 on the Xbox. Then they would use any leftover power, which it would have a fair amount of, to just pump up the graphics. But yeah, I don't think it's a good point, because I don't think we really got the original Xbox really got like maxed out, did it? Because like I said, a lot of the games were, the multi-plats obviously would have been ported over from PS2, so they wouldn't have gone out of their way to rebuild the character models and things like that to make use of the more power that the Xbox had. They would just port over what was already there, and just that would run a bit smoother. I think you have to look at games like Dead or Alive 3 and sort of maybe Jet Set Radio Future and Panzer Dragoon.
Well, Halo 2.
Halo, yeah. You could get a version of those games running on PS2. I mean, a good example of what you could squeeze out of a PS2 is probably Outrun 2006, because that was actually designed. It was an arcade game that ran on an Xbox. The actual arcade machine was just an Xbox. I think it had a bit more RAM or something. So it was super easy to have that work on the retail Xboxes. But it actually got a PS2 port, and it's actually really good, the PS2 port. So it's not quite as good as the Xbox, but there's also even a PSP version that's also really good. But yeah, I think if the Xbox was, I mean, there's not many examples of the most powerful console being the one that won, is there really?
No.
No. So, I mean, the last generation of the Xbox 360 v PS3, it's difficult to really say if one was more powerful than the other. The initial sort of thoughts were it would be the PS3 was more powerful, but it was so difficult to program, and the way the memory was divided between the CPU and the graphics, it kind of negated any advantage it had. Everybody would say, "Oh, just look at Uncharted 3, yeah, that blows away anything an Xbox 360 could do." But I'm like, well, if you look at it took a few more years to come out, but look at Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of people forget there was an Xbox 360 version. That looks amazing, and that looks as good as, I would say, if it might even be a bit better than Uncharted 3, because it's a rock solid sort of 30 frames a second, and it looks amazing. So yeah, I think that the difference between the Xbox and the PS2, original Xbox and the PS2, was bigger than the difference between the PS3 and the Xbox 360. It might be the biggest gap, actually, isn't it? When you look back at all the consoles generations, I know there was things like the Neo Geo and stuff, which kind of sat outside and
well,
Well, when you look at sort of the ones that we think of that were directly competing, like I think the Xbox v PS2 is a bigger gap in power than even maybe N64 PlayStation. But yeah, I guess it was a generation where those differences couldn't quite be so pronounced. It was just the frame rate was a bit more stable. Or like Grand Theft Auto was a good one, isn't it? Because you got the triple pack, didn't you, on the Xbox?
And you went back, and I remember playing Vice City, and you got all of the rain effects.
Yeah, right.
It just seemed, God, this looks really good. I'm enjoying this. But I think where the Xbox really sort of led the way and was Xbox Live.
You're right. Yeah, that was absolutely phenomenal.
And so many people, speak. I remember, day one on when Xbox Live, and you play this game. You play Halo or Halo 2 online. And
did you actually have it? I don't think I ever used it on the original Xbox.
I had it, and do you know what? I think I played a few games on there.
2004, wasn't it? I think it launched for us in the UK.
Yeah, so it was a couple of years after.
Yeah.
The game I really sort of played on there was actually Outrun 2000. I don't know, whichever Outrun.
2006, probably. Yeah.
And I was on there with the voice chat, and I thought, I can't wait to do some online gaming. And then, of course, I hadn't really done online gaming before, so I was just absolutely beaten by everyone. But then they all started telling me cheats on how to get the best cars. So I've got a few better cars, and maybe I got a bit better or still lost. And I paid what was the other game? Actually, when I lived in Canada for a year after university, I had a friend of mine, and he absolutely worshipped the Xbox. He was just like, no, it's the best. Oh, you play Halo, you play, Madden, and he would play Madden, Halo Online, all these things. Have his headset on, and it was like, oh wow, this is, and that also it almost actually sort of put me off it, because I thought, oh my god, this guy looks so good on here, and he's playing all these. Oh, I'm not great at first person shooters. I'm sort of better at them now, to sort of understand the 2-stick controls. I haven't just worked that out, but
in the early
maybe
days,
sort of 15 years ago.
It still wasn't like the standard. Well, it was. It was just about became the standard at that point, wasn't it? But we hadn't had years of built-in muscle memory at that point, had we? For it, yeah.
Exactly. I was always used to playing first-person shooters with the mouse and keyboard on my PC,
and that controller as well, that original controller, which I love the Duke controller.
No, I don't. I think it's
yeah, most people don't.
Absolutely. I don't know how they came out. Oh, we'll make this controller like nothing else on the system, on like any other system's ever been. It was so big, it was chunky, had that black and white button, which was just in an awkward place. So I when they came out with the little Japanese controller, the S controller, that was a good move.
Yeah, I think it was because, like we've mentioned already, that the Xbox consoles were descended from the Sega one. So the last sort of Sega console was the Dreamcast, of course, which Microsoft had a hand in. Part of the insides of it are Microsoft. So the controller for the Dreamcast, I think that the original Xbox controller, the Duke, is kind of, you could see how it's an evolution of that Dreamcast controller, and then you got the S controller that was an evolution of that. I really like it. It's actually my go-to controller. I still use. I've got a load of them because people just like selling them. Were selling them for peanuts when the S came out. But I really like it. It's definitely big though. Like my girlfriend can't use it because it's just too big for her hands. And also the buttons are very small as well, which is always kind of weird. And the triggers on the back are big. But I just think it's awesome. I want someone to make a wireless like upgrade for it because that would be absolutely perfect. There were wireless controllers for the original Xbox. There were sort of Mad Cats and Logitech ones, but there was never an official Microsoft one. And they ended up being the best controllers, the actual Microsoft ones. They were really good controllers. But yeah, it was funny actually when I'm going back to when I got one. I think it was about 2003, sort of maybe spring 2003. And I think I read somewhere that they'd reduced the price. Because they were getting absolutely battered by the PS2 at that point because they were still 300 quid. God, it might not have been soon, being earlier than that. They had to reduce the price, but yeah, it went down to 150 quid, I think. And you got a bundle.
Because it sold on here? It sold 24 million units. Well, I think the PlayStation 2, I want to say, sold over 100 million units.
Oh, even more than that. It's the PS2 sold 150 million units. I think it's still the biggest selling console of all time. I think the DS is just died just before it managed to equal it, which is quite annoying for Nintendo. But yeah, the PS2 absolutely destroyed the Xbox and the GameCube, but they still kind of plodded along. They had, I mean, the thing with the Xbox was, I mean, it was kind of a public beta test, wasn't it? It was like they wanted to sort of get the name that Microsoft wanted to get their name out there, making consoles, and they were quite. I think they were quite happy just to do. I mean, it lost like billions of pounds, didn't it? The original Xbox, but they obviously Microsoft, that's a drop in the ocean for them to keep it going. It was really to get their name, so they're sat at the table now. And it was really with their next console they were going to really go for the jugular sort of thing, which they basically did.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is far more successful. But yeah, I mean, I think it was about 150 quid. I think they just price dropped it. So I think I made a point of thinking, yeah, you know what, I'm going to grab it. I remember when it came out, the original Xbox, it might have been a couple of months before. I did buy a couple of the magazines that started to pop up. I think I got the first issue of the original Xbox magazine. the official Xbox magazine. Which I think it's still going today. I think obviously covering the Xbox One now. But yeah, it was. I remember seeing those magazines start to pop up at the end of 2002. You know, they were sort of building the hype for when it launched in the UK. And I picked up the official Xbox magazine, and that had it came with a video. It came with a video with literally a VHS tape, because DVDs had been out for a few years, but they still weren't ubiquitous. It's kind of funny. We're talking at late 2001. I don't think I had a DVD player then. I think it was the next year that I got one. And yeah, it had a videotape of all the games that were coming out, like Halo and Oddworld, Abe's something or other. I can't remember which one it was.
Abe's Odyssey or something, yeah.
Exodus, I can't remember which one was the launch one. Project Gotham, which I knew was, Metropolis Street Racer, which was cool. So again, that was another bit of Dreamcast sort of stuff going on the Xbox. And Panzer Dragoon and Jets Running. It all looked amazing, and it looked like it was absolutely like the PS2 couldn't possibly do any of this stuff. And yeah, as it turned out, when the sort of generation went on, obviously they weren't using the Xbox to its 100% maximum potential, because it was just getting ports of PS2 games. But yeah, I mean, it was still. I mean, I never owned a PS2.
You never owned a PS2?
No, I had a GameCube or I kind of flip-flop between the GameCube and the Xbox, and I was quite happy with them.
I mean, I was of the opinion that you in that generation you had to have a PS2, because that's what had all the best games on.
Well, I think what happened is when I had the money to go out, and when I was in sort of 18, 19 when this generation started. Well, sort of 16, I guess. If you go to the Dream when the Dreamcast came out, it would have been 15. But anyway. When we got to the point where the Xbox was out, and I was going to because I had a Dreamcast, you see, that I was kind of I was at the very start of that generation, and that kept me going until like 2003, really, because I was still buying. There were places were flogging the games for it super cheap when it was dying. It's sort of that 2002 period. Like Game Station were doing bundles of 3 for a tenner games, and I was going crazy just buying them all. So that kept me going through 2000, 2001, and when 2002 when it was getting cheap. I didn't have a need for another console. I had friends that had PS2s, but there wasn't really anything. We did the PS2 show, didn't we? Quite a while ago now, but we sort of said it wasn't until really 2001 when you got the sort of FIFA 2001, and you got like Metal Gear Solid and Grand Theft Auto 3 all came out together, and that was when it was like, wow, this is really like the Dreamcast hasn't got anything on this.
Because look, I'm actually looking through the list here of Xbox original games, and ones that sort of stand out is Doom 3 was on there.
Oh yeah, that was amazing. That's probably the best technical showcase, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and then Half-Life 2.
Oh yeah, definitely
know,
games that you couldn't do on a PS2. Not one. It'll be a severely cut down version, like really badly. Yeah.
Another one that comes to mind is Hello Kitty Roller Rescue.
Oh, that would bring a gaming PC to its knees in 2003. I can
see another one.
But Doom 3, yeah, that was amazing, because that needed like a mega gaming PC in 2003. So when that came out, and it was basically that they did have to reduce some things in it, but it wasn't to any degree where it wasn't recognizable anymore. It was pretty close to the PC version, and yeah, it was literally like you couldn't do this on a PS2. And also, it helped that the Xbox had a Pentium 3 with its CPU.
That's right, yeah.
They didn't use. I mean, up to that point, games consoles tended to be custom chips, custom designed hardware. Well, you had like the Mega Drive actually that had just a Motorola sort of chip, but the rest of it would often be custom designed, and it wasn't something they just took off a shelf and put together like a gaming PC. But the Xbox was kind of like a gaming PC. It was kind of took a Pentium chip, put that in there. The Pentium chip was more powerful than nothing. The Emotion engine was a CPU, wasn't it? In the
PlayStation 2, yeah.
PlayStation 2, yeah. I think it was more powerful than that. I think it was like 300 megahertz. I think the Emotion engine. It isn't always the best measure of power, but compared to the Pentium 3 was like 733 in the Xbox. So obviously the numbers there. Obviously, there's a big gap. I think it also had more RAM, and it had like an NVIDIA graphics card. There was a graphics synthesizer in the PS2, but I think the NVIDIA chip in the Xbox was way more powerful than that. And it had a hard drive in it as well, which things like Xbox Live and made that a bit easier. Also having the built-in Ethernet. I mean, I didn't have Xbox Live because I was still living in a seaside Essex town that was stuck 20 years in the past at that point. I think I just got broadband in 2004. So I could have done it, I think, but I just, for some reason, I didn't. And I did play Dreamcast online, though, a couple of years before that. Well, more like it was 2000 time.
That was all designed for the phone line, wasn't it?
Exactly.
The Dreamcast.
Yeah, so my dad had let me go on it, and
an Ethernet adapter.
Yeah, and I just played tons of Choo Choo Rocket on that, and that was amazing. Like over the internet. I spent more time in the chat rooms than Choo Choo Rocket, weirdly, but playing the game was cool. And it sounds creepy in a normal, innocent way, of course. And using the internet, just using it as a browser because it was better than my clunky old PC that we had, and it was on my TV, so it was just like way more sort of couch, sort of chill out friendly. But I didn't do any of that with the Xbox. We didn't have a browser; you couldn't just go on the internet. But yeah, it was. I didn't get a chance to do Xbox Live, but I do remember I was still in that sort of era of just going around a mate's house and playing like Soul Calibur 2, Dead or Alive 3, Halo 1, Deathmatch, Pro Evo. I remember I was really excited when Pro Evo came out for the Xbox, because I skipped a couple of them. Well, I guess it came out in 2002, so I
almost want to say it just got one, didn't it?
I think it got Pro Evo 4.
I'm just
5, and that was it.
I think you're right. I'm trying to find. Oh, it's not on this list. Yeah, it must be under the Japanese name, maybe. But another thing that sort of stood out as I'm sort of going through this list was the actual number of Star Wars games.
Yeah, it was crazy, wasn't it? It had one exclusive one.
There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 Star Wars games. Now, the ones that I'm not a huge fan of Star Wars games, to be fair, but the Knights of the Old Republic, they were, to have a game like that. On a console, again, that is a standout. That's a standout game. Where a lot of the others, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, Battlefront 1 and 2,
multiplats.
They were multiplats. I don't know if the Jedi Knight ones were.
I know there was outside of the Knights of the Old Republic games, which, like you said, I don't think they could have been done on the Xbox, on the PS2 even. It was on the Xbox. Could be done on the PS2 and probably not the GameCube either. I think also where the hard drive is like essential, isn't it? Probably
That's
Far
right.
Cry as well. Far Cry Instincts. Other than that, could be done on the PS2.
Oh yeah, that's another good one. Yeah.
Yeah. And you've got as well, in terms of Star Wars, there's Republic Commando, which is like an FPS. Star Wars FPS that was exclusive, I think, to the Xbox. It was on PC as well, but I think it was exclusive to the Xbox. So that probably could be done on the PS2. But something like Knights of the Republic harkens back as well to Morrowind. That you couldn't do on a PS2 without severely cutting back on everything. I mean, the way it ran on an Xbox was equivalent to sort of running it all on like the high settings on the PC. At sort of 640 by 480. And as even that, I mean, all the games ran at sort of 480p. I think nearly all of them did, barring only a few. And then it was even capable of high definition. If you got the not the PAL version, unfortunately, but where you can mod it to do it. But if you got the component cables, the very effing expensive component cables, which Muggins here has actually bought.
Are they expensive for the original Xbox?
Yeah, you're looking at about 60, 70 quid. And they didn't come out in the UK, so you got to get them from unless someone had imported them and they're selling them on eBay in the UK. Normally, you'd have to go and get them off through the States, because basically Microsoft, for some reason, they disabled the high definition ability in the PAL Xbox. You can re-enable it again. The hardware hasn't been amended. It's just some software. If you mod it, you can enable it. But the high definition AV pack, it's just the component cables. Very expensive. They wouldn't have sold a lot in those days, because we were still very much in the era of CRTs. In that era. So, you know, obviously the TV was only really starting, 16:9 widescreen was only starting to become sort of a standard. So it was that was taking, you know, over. HDTVs wouldn't really become a thing. Well, I think the HDTVs were available in sort of early 2000s, but they certainly wouldn't become a standard until even well into the Xbox 360s era. I mean, I didn't get a HDTV till like 2010. You know,
I don't know when I got a. Yeah, maybe it was about that. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, they kind of stayed very in the sort of, you know, over $1,000, I think. Well over the you know, well over $1,000, well into sort of the late 2000s. But yeah, anyway, yeah, digressing a bit, but Microsoft made the high definition AV pack component cables, and in the Xbox dashboard you can enable 720p and 1080i, and if you're running a game that can use those resolutions, the game will run in 720p or 1080i, literally like 5 or 6 run in 1080i. But there's about, you know, a sizable chunk of games, like we're not talking like 20 or something, it's more than that, run in 720p. You can look it up on the Wikipedia Xbox page. But yeah, some of them like Soul Calibur 2 look absolutely amazing in 720p with those cables on a HDTV.
Oh, I imagine, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a 4K TV.
We were discussing, you know, what we're going to do the subjects on. You know, we both had a few ideas, and I'm trying to make it sound like more discussions went in than actually did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there were lots of discussions. Yeah,
but I actually popped into CX today on my way home from work, and I'm always looking out for, you know, a few games and things. Oh, I wonder if I got this or that, and I picked up after ages for looking was I have difficulty saying this, SSX3 for the original Xbox.
Yeah.
I grabbed that today. I thought, brilliant, that's going to look phenomenal on my Xbox One X. So stick it in there, and
it's backwards compatible, isn't it? Yeah,
it's backwards compatible, and it does look really, really nice. And that is all widescreen. It's all the graphics are all nice and clear, and it looks really good. Looks really, really good.
There's a similar game that I played not that long ago, which is also good. Amped, which is like I think themselves. That runs in 720p. So it looks like an early Xbox 360 game. That's how good it looks in 720p.
Do you know what? A lot of these games, I think I put them on, I think, God, they look really good. And then what makes me think, no, it's an original Xbox games, is all the HUD around it.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And like the intro page, the menu page will be really sort of
text will be scaled up, and it'll
be really basic. But when you get into the game and you get involved with it, okay, it might not look good as the latest 360 games or some of the older ones, obviously, or some of the really good ones. But some games certainly could pass for it, but not the menus. I think somehow they just
even like the dashboard, the Xbox dashboard is like looks, you know, really blurry and a bit sort of washed out. Then you get into the game and it's fine. It's funny, isn't it? Because that sort of gen, you've got like, it's like not quite retro, not quite HD in between era. So the graphics actually, like the character models and stuff, there was enough polygons and stuff to make them look really good. You know, I find if it's a game that hasn't necessarily got people in it, or people that you haven't got right in front of you, like your cartoonier type graphics or manga type graphics, they look awesome still, like Dead or Alive 3. They still use that same art style now for the models, so that hasn't really aged at all. Or Blinks, you know, the cat, time traveling cat, sort of Ratchet and Clank rip-off thing. Conker's Bad Fur Day, or the Xbox version, Conker Live and Reloaded. Get that version if you don't want to spend £200 on the N64 original, because it's like about 15 quid. And it's great. Conker Live Reloaded is a remake of Conker's Bad Fur Day. It's literally the same game, but that looks amazing still. Not even in backwards compatibility on the Xbox One, but just through the component cables on a HDTV. The graphics haven't aged at all. I mean, I was playing like some of the racing games, especially like Forza Motorsport, the first one. to be honest, on first glance, it doesn't look. It looks as good as like Forza Motorsport on Xbox 360. I think the only giveaway is that it runs at 30 frames a second, but it still looks great. I mean, also even like football games like FIFA 07, the last one that came out on the original Xbox, that actually is one of the games that runs in 720p.
Is it?
Yeah, so that still looks really great as well, and it's still a really fun game to play. So yeah, you can check that out. I do think it does actually. I noticed that when it runs at 720p, the actual game runs at 30 frames a second instead of 60. So it actually halves the frame rate, probably because it can't do the game at 720 at 60. But it's kind of that era of FIFA wasn't so twitchy. The animations are so overblown. I think they were sort of hand sort of drawn, a lot of them. You're not going to feel that much of a difference. It doesn't feel any more sluggish because it was kind of sluggish already. Not that we knew that then, but obviously comparing it to now, it does feel a little bit like that. So yeah, no, you're right. It hasn't really aged at all. Like I said, I recommend getting, if you can, getting a modded or modding your own Xbox, which you could do with a soft mod. So you haven't got to like solder anything onto your original Xbox. In fact, talking of that, I mean, it's probably the best. It's certainly my favorite console in terms of consoles that you can mod to play old games. Probably makes it my favorite console of that sort of gen. Probably I kind of almost don't count the Dreamcast. It's kind of in between gens, but PS3, Xbox is my favorite.
I don't know. I kind of get a little bit tired of people modding the machines. And
have you looked into getting one?
Not a modding machine. I wouldn't be interested because for me, it's if someone said to me, Stuart, do you want to buy a Pentium 3 with 64 gig of RAM and you can play Mega Drive games on it? I go, no, I think I'm all right, thanks.
It depends on what.
I wouldn't be interested. For me, is I'm sitting right next to a PC which got 100 times more powerful than an original Xbox, and I can get all of the ROMs and all of the old games and put them all on here. Playing with an Xbox pad, it'll be an absolutely great experience. And there are a few people on the internet and who seem to be every machine they've got. All they seem to want to do with every machine they've got is hack it and then put on every Super Nintendo game and every N64 game on it, and then analyze how well PlayStation 1 games run on something that's not designed to run PlayStation 1 games. And I'm thinking, well, surely can't you just run it on a PC or run it on the original hardware? And I'm just, oh man, it's why buy all these new machines or semi-old machines or old machines? And all you want to do is play even older games on them, which are not designed for. Anyway, my rant's over.
Well, that wasn't the appeal for me. For me, I mean, I've got a modded original Xbox, so I've got a bit of the beast of one. Actually, I've got a 2 terabyte Xbox, and it wasn't because I was like, oh, I can play 20 like Mega Drive games on it or something. It was actually because with the 2 terabyte Xbox, you could fit the entire library of original Xbox games on the hard drive. I think you do it to sort of chop off some of the earlier year sports games. So if you just keep the latest year of all the sports games, you can fit every single of the 700, nearly 800 original Xbox games. So that's the main appeal for me. It's kind of like an EverDrive you would have like for a Mega Drive, where you've got every Mega Drive.
In all honesty, I would like to have that. That would be useful to have them, but
yeah, you're right. It's not worth it if you're just going to do emulators. The emulators are cool, are pretty good, but again, with the 2 terabyte Xbox, the one I've got, I didn't build it. I bought them fairly cheap on eBay. A lot of people sell them. It has those 700 games or nearly 800 games, and it means I can run it in 720p and 1080i, which you can't do with a stock PAL original Xbox, and you can also fit the emulators in there as well. So, if you wanted to have an all-in-one thing that could do everything, it's pretty damn good. So yeah, from that point of view of have instant access to every Xbox game, and you're covering the gamut of most of that generation's best games, apart from the exclusives on the GameCube and the PS2. Certainly the multi-plat, you're playing the best version, like your Burnouts and and all that, and FIFA and all that stuff. And All those games that came out and Time Splitters and all that came out and everything. Grand Theft Auto. You've got them all at your fingertips.
Talking about emulation, and I was actually quite impressed with something. There was a video, I don't know if I shared it with you, I'm sure I did, but it was someone had got Ridge Racer Type 4 playing better on a SNES Mini than it did on the PlayStation Mini.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, really.
And they were saying that, hold on, the SNES is, because it's only designed to play 2D games or whatever, it's about a quarter as powerful on paper as the PlayStation Mini, but yet the game runs a hell of a lot smoother. And
well, I remember you could go even further back than that. In 1999, you could get a virtual game station, a piece of software for the Mac that let you run PS1 games on an iMac.
Oh, wow.
An iMac G3, and they ran perfect. They run just as well as, there was a few games that had some glitches, but they run pretty much perfect. Probably better than the PlayStation Classic. And we're talking about an iMac G3 is like 300 megahertz of maybe 32 mega RAM, and that ran. And we're talking, this is when the PS1 was still having commercial titles released for it. In fact, for 3 or 4 more years, it was actually going to have that. Kinetics, were the company that made it. Virtual Game Station, it's called. And I think they went on to make Bleem. I think it was the same dude that made Bleem.
Oh, Bleem, yeah. Remember that.
Yeah, the Dreamcast can run PS2, PS1 games. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that a SNES Mini, which is probably more powerful than a 1999 iMac or a Dreamcast, could run PlayStation games. You can actually go back to what you do on an Xbox. You can run PlayStation games on an Xbox. Original Xbox as an emulator, but it's not great. It's a little bit.
That's it.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd like to have all those games, but it comes down to when you've got 700 games and you're thinking, actually, which game do you want to play? And it sounds funny to say, but
go back to the same 6 you used to like when you were a kid.
Yeah, and I like the idea of going out and buying a game and thinking, oh God, I bought this for X amount. Right, I'm going to like it. I'm going to like this game now because I bought it for £40. I'm invested in it. So you go out and you actually enjoy it a lot more because you're almost making yourself play it a lot more. Because I know I spent £4 on SXX3, and I'll probably play that for half an hour, and have a little bit of fun with it. But a lot of the games like Red Dead, I put 45 hours into that, and Smash Brothers, I probably put 10 or 15 hours into that. And
yeah, I find that's a problem even without a console that's got all the games built in, because you're an adult now. You've got money isn't your money's your own now, and you can go and buy 3 or 4 games a pop. Wanted to every time you got paid, maybe more than that if that was all you wanted to spend your money on. So you get a backlog from even just from doing that every month. And Steam, I've got nearly 100 games. I've probably played about 20 of them. They just get thrown on the pile, sort of thing. It's just the eternal struggle. But I don't worry too much about it. I'm glad that I know that one day I'll watch a video like Metal Jesus will do 10 hidden gem Xbox games. Or he's probably already done that, but and I'll see, oh, that game looks interesting. I'll pop my Xbox on now, and it'll probably already be on there. I've done that. I've done that. Plenty of games that I never discovered or had a chance to play. It's a little bit different with a console like that, though, because like a Mega Drive or a Super Nintendo, when you've got an EverDrive, those games are a little bit easier just to quickly jump in. So you could bang through, have get the full experience of a game, having only played it for 10 minutes. So you could go if you wanted, and you're like, right, I'm going to play 100 Mega Drive games. You can probably do that in a couple of hours,
Yeah. But I don't like this.
Yeah.
Next one.
Plow through them, because the games are just a lot more simple. But you couldn't really do that with maybe you could, but with an Xbox, you wouldn't get past the tutorial, for a lot of them, or the first cutscene, So it'll be more difficult to do that, but. There's already people that sell modded PS3s with I've got a modded PS3. They're very easy to soft mod. In fact, they're one of the easiest systems ever to soft mod. Easier than an original Xbox. And that you can, like, you know, put a 2 terabyte hard drive, and you could just you know, I had a mate who had one, and he used to use Love Film, and remember, he would send you a DVD, then you'd finish it and send it back. He'd do that with games. He had a modded PS3. He'd like rent a PS3 game, and the PS3 would rip the game to the hard drive, which is a cool thing that a modded PS3 could do, and you just send it back. And he's still got the game on his own, but he did, like, Love Film must be wondering what he was doing, you know, because every day he'd be sending a game, getting a game, sending it back. Like, did he play these? You know. So yeah, you could do it with PS3s. You can get, like, you know, fully loaded. I think you could do it with like PS4s already and stuff like that, which is kind of crazy how these just get, you know, how it happens. But yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting way. It's an interesting dilemma, isn't it, when you've got all these games? But yeah, I mean, going back, the Xbox is a great system for modding, and if only just to have access to the whole library in one place. But I still collect the discs on top of that.
Because I like having the games, and I enjoy them more. You know, putting them all on and playing them, and it's sort of part of the chase is to find these old games and to play them. And I just seem to enjoy that sort of more than having a sort of a big hard drive with every single game on it. I wouldn't appreciate that. And but I think one thing we haven't really talked about for the Xbox is how much of an effect do you think Halo 1 and Halo 2 had on the success of the Xbox? Now, we've established it sold 24 million copies, 24 million machines, sorry. So if Halo 1 and Halo 2 didn't come out, I don't think it would have passed 10 million units.
I think you're right. I think it was a killer app. It kind of came out of nowhere. I don't remember I was particularly following Halo before, up until it came out, or being people talking about it. Oh, there's this Halo game coming out. It was originally announced for the Mac, like about a year earlier. Yeah. Steve Jobs himself announced it, which is kind of crazy to think. But yeah, I didn't really. It kind of just came out, and everybody was just everybody was just talking about it out of nowhere. That happens a lot these days. Like Fortnite, I didn't anticipate as being a game that everybody went mental over, or even PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. A lot of these games I didn't hear about until they come out, and 7 million people started playing them all at once. I was like, how? But yeah, no, you're right. I think it wasn't for the Halo. The other games that it still had a pretty good launch lineup, but for some reason people just went crazy. I'm not a big Halo fan. I've played them, but I'm not like, this is amazing, this is my favorite game. Played it when it was out, and it was mostly through Deathmatch. I played it back in the day. Which was great fun, but I never really. I've tried a few times to get into it. I've never been able to do it. But anyway, we're not talking about that. We're talking about the impact it had. Yeah, it was massive. I don't think. I don't know what it probably would have sold a lot less units. And you know what? If it sold a lot less units, they may have completely thought we shouldn't have bothered in the first place, and we wouldn't have got an Xbox 360.
That's 100% true, because for me, Halo, it really felt like. You know, on the GameCube, certainly it could do first-person shooters, but you know, Metroid, the controls were all fucked up.
Yeah.
And then it had a few multi-plat ones. You know, Time Splitters was pretty good, but there was no real story there. But and again on the PlayStation 2, he had a few first-person shooters, but yeah, they weren't really that good.
There wasn't like a GoldenEye type or a Halo type.
No, that's
the one. Yeah,
it had that. It had the GoldenEye moment.
Yeah,
and I thought, wow, right now you can do really good first-person shooters on a console. When people originally, you know, before those times thought, yeah, it's the PC. That's where you get the really good first-person shooters. And it was, well, actually, no, it's not now. You know, you can play online, especially with Halo 2. You know, four of your friends can sit around and play Halo 1. It's got loads of great maps. There's loads of good modes.
Well, I think the main reason, like, the Xbox 360 had backwards compatibility with the original Xbox was basically so you could keep playing Halo 2.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, because it didn't have a Halo game when it launched, and it wouldn't for a couple of years, in fact. So I think they were worried that people wouldn't bother buying a 360 because they'd be like, oh, well, I just want to play Halo still. So yeah, people were playing. I think that's probably. I don't know. There's a stat that would back this up, but I could imagine it might have been one of the most played Xbox 360 games was Halo 2. You know, when people like upgraded from the Xbox, or maybe people just went across to the 360 and just thought, "Oh, check out that Halo 2 thing that my mates were going on about." I just had a PS2 then. I wasn't bothered about it, but yeah, no, you're right. And then also, you know, if people weren't buying it just to play Halo, and the amount of units sold weren't at a reasonable level, then you might find like EA wouldn't have bothered making any of its sports games.
Exactly, yeah.
Thing as well. There's no FIFA on it. People will be like, "No, I want to play FIFA. I'm getting PS2 instead." You know? And I think it edged out the GameCube by a few million units. Nothing amazing, but yeah, it just about edged it out. And yeah, it was. I would say it was a success. Because you know it had a fairly decent lifespan. I think it went on. I think the last game was Madden 09 in the US. I think the year before was when we had our last game, which I think it was Samurai something or other. Some funny.
I think I just read that here is Shaolin. Oh, I can't remember.
It's going to be annoying me now. I know it goes for a lot as well. I think it was only, I can't remember if this game was just PAL or not, but here we go. This is where I can see it. So I think it was in 2007 or 2008 was the last game that we got in the PAL.
It was 2007. It was Shaolin Showdown in June the 29th, 2007.
Yeah, and I think that goes for a fair bit on eBay because people sort of, you know, because it was still. I mean, it's funny, because a lot of people, when they think of the Xbox, think, "Oh yeah, the 360 came out and then bam, it was dead. No, there was no games." But no,
I think years. Okay, they did make a few more, but they really did drop it quickly.
It wasn't like it wasn't. I mean, if you compare the 360 when that had a successor already out, I mean, it was really like probably. The end of 2015 was when that really started to drop off. I mean, technically, it's still an active platform because FIFA 19 just came out. And it we might get another year of FIFA and Just Dance.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. But yeah, I mean,
I can't imagine anyone would buy FIFA 19 on the Xbox 360, would they, Trev?
You'd be a complete dick to buy that. Someone could be killed, to be honest. Literally would have to be killed.
I mean, they might buy it if they didn't own it already on the PC.
Probably someone that's got really bad performance in the bedroom. So, what Stu's getting at is, I bought that game. It's out there, right? I bought it for the 360. What? You know what? When you're scrabbling around trying to find a copy of it because it's the last ever 360 game, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, it's £100 now because it's you know, an important game." Yeah. You'll be like, "Oh, I should have bought it when it came out."
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, as we were saying, it didn't carry on for 3, 4, 5 years, did it? It was like a couple of years, and it was gone. I mean, it looks like in 2007. When if you go by the North America, like the last game was Madden NFL 09. In 2008, it was the only game that came out in 2008. You had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in 2007. 2006 weren't too bad, actually. If you look, that's like a few dozen there actually came out in 2006. I'm not sure if we got all of them. I think we only got a chunk of them in the PAL region. But yeah, you could probably say 2006 was its last proper year, and it was really just 2001 it came out, end of 2006. That's 5 years. And then before it really was abandoned, you'd probably say. Whereas the Xbox 360,
5 years. It was released in the EU in March 14, 2002, and it was discontinued in March 11th, 2007.
There you go. Yeah,
it lasts for another 2 years in North America till March 2nd, 2009. So I don't quite know.
Yeah, I'd probably say like 2006 was its last proper year, and then if you compare that to its successor, the 360, I mean, I would put that as 2015 when probably Rise of the Tomb Raider came out, which is probably the last AAA game, I think.
That's right, yeah.
And that's the Xbox 360 was 10 years old at that point. So it was like basically double the lifespan. Then it sold like 4 times the units. And it's probably you could argue that it just about beat the PS3. So it was kind of the leader, really. That was the Wii was, I guess, officially, but that kind of died completely after 2010, really, apart from Nintendo exclusives. But that's another video. But yeah, no, you're right. It wasn't really supported properly, was it, after the 360 came out?
No. I think they just saw the futures with the 360.
Which is fair enough.
Good machine.
What are your final thoughts on it then before we shoot off for the day?
I think I actually want to go back, and I've got one here somewhere in the cupboard or something. So I want to set one up, and
you try and get all the component cable.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I didn't want to be. Well, actually, you can buy shitty Japanese Chinese ones for £3.48 on eBay.
I've actually got those. Yeah, that was the first route I went down, and they're pretty shit.
I can't imagine that's gonna have.
Although you've got the
might be a little bit of interference with the picture, but I don't know. I might grab one of those for myself and just sort of give it a go. And
well, if you're not bothered about getting every game on a hard drive in it or anything, I would recommend at least doing a basic kind of soft mod on it, so you can unlock the HD resolutions. And you know what? Now actually you can get there's those HDMI cables that have come out for the original Xbox.
Yeah, made by Hyperkin and Pound and people like that. But actually, I don't know if you noticed, but this month was the first time ever that for your Xbox Live Games with Gold membership, it was actually an Xbox original game, Mercenaries.
Yeah, that was cool, wasn't it?
So I think they're going to
bring out a few more of them. Yeah,
a few more of those. Just and people go, oh yeah, actually, this was a good game. I think they're cheaping out a little bit by giving us original Xbox games. I'll certainly rather get 360 or Xbox One games, but
well, they scale, like you said, they scale up really nice, and the graphics look really good, because I say they haven't aged too badly. But yeah, I think my final thoughts on it are, like I said, probably my favourite system of that generation. Might even be in my sort of top 5 all-time favourite consoles. We're not going to go through the top 5. We'll wait for a top 5. Oh, top 5 favourite consoles. Oh, there we go. There's our 50th episode idea right there. So yeah, probably my top 5. I'd recommend. I certainly would recommend a modded one. Not necessarily going all out like I did and getting like a 2 terabyte with every game installed, but it is very cool if you can get them. And yeah, it kind of plays really well with a modern setup, because a lot of the games supported HD resolutions. The console itself supported HD resolutions. Just make sure you get the right cables. As you just said, you can now get the HDMI cables that are a lot cheaper than the original Microsoft component ones. So that's a bit easier these days. Make sure if it's a PAL console, though, you have to fiddle around to get it to unlock those HD resolutions. Really good library of games.
I think Adam Correlax just done a video about the Hyperkin video cable.
Yeah, he reviewed it. He actually said that apparently, basically the gist is both of them are a shade not as good as the original component cable. So I'm not going to buy either of them because I've got the component cables on my TV. It's getting a bit difficult now because a lot of TVs might not have component inputs. I've got a 4K TV, which actually does have component input.
Mine's got component, but I just looked and thought, oh yeah, it's got lots of HDMI ports. Brilliant. That's what I want. I'm not going to play old games on it. But now I'm sort of like, oh, I wonder what cable.
That's the only thing that I would ever use it with. Yeah, that was the only console that was the only use I would ever have for component input is an original Xbox.
But I don't think I've ever used component cables on on a big sort of HDTV.
Yeah. I've never used them in my life until I got an original Xbox. I'm sure in the 2000s you could probably plug DVD players into it and stuff like that. I'd always use, just SCART. But yeah, when we got to that middle era of SD resolutions and HD resolutions kind of, overlapping, those consoles, like even the PS2, does actually support some games running 1080i and 1020p, nowhere near as many as the Xbox. But yeah, the Xbox was probably the first console that widely supported that. So yeah, great for HD resolutions as well. A lot of games support it. You'll get the best versions of multiplats
Definitely.
over the other consoles, the GameCube and the PS2. And you've got your Halos, and you've got the Sega exclusive Jet Set Radio, Panzer Dragoon, Shenmue 2.
And I think it's fair to say that all of these PlayStation 2, GameCube, Xbox are all so cheap now.
They're probably the cheapest of them all.
And the games, they're just, 10 a penny. You get when the boot fairs start up in spring or something. You just see piles of them, and
the Xbox is about the cheapest of them all, I think. I mean, the PS2's got a few collectible gems, isn't it? The GameCube has as well. That's getting up now. That's getting more expensive. Like,
I think the GameCube, because it's Nintendo, isn't it? But
I would say, like with the Xbox, nearly everything is under £10, with a lot of them like 50p.
Easily.
Yeah, so you can absolutely fill your boots and get them. In the library's about 800 games, so it's big, but it's
Don't say it's doable. Oh yeah, go for a complete set. It's doable.
It's easier than the Wii. I'll give it that much. But yeah, awesome console. Don't have to worry about memory cards. You've got the hard drive. Brilliant console. Get one, because they're like 30 quid for the actual console. Maybe not even that. So yeah, CX. Go to CX. Well, actually, Play Nation Games.
Play Nation Games. Go and see
ground.
Hello to Dan. Play Nation Games.
How much are they there? How much was an Xbox there?
We did them for a tenner.
Really? Yeah.
I'm stitching them up now.
Whatever CX was.
The guy on the
So yeah.
The guy on the podcast said they're a tenner.
Yeah, go to Play Nation Games. Actually, you know what? If you spend over 20 quid, I think they let you into the heart of gaming behind them now.
They do, yes. That's pretty
great deal. So yeah, I certainly would recommend them, as we always have. But anyway, we've reached the end now. So that's episode 47. We're getting close to 50. I think we might have to do a countdown of favourite consoles.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
Where can you find us, Stu?
Right, consoleshock.net. Consoleshock.net. We're on Twitter under Console Shock. We're under Facebook, Console Shock, YouTube, and Stitcher. If you just search Console Shock or Console Shock Podcast, you will find us.
Great. So check us out on all of our socials. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers, everyone.
See ya.